His nightmare is spreading. Watch Rob Schmidt on Newsmax tonight for this special report.
People who are vaccinated are getting sick from COVID variants, and Americans have no end of questions and concerns. What we do know is that fever is the leading sign of COVID, so everyone needs an accurate thermometer. Exogen temporal scanner's accuracy is backed by more than 100 clinical studies, while non-contact devices have no supporting studies. They miss fever and give a dangerous and false sense of security. Remember, vaccines are not enough, and you need an accurate thermometer. Learn more at exogen.com.
And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, along with our investigative reporter Cheryl Jones. Now, she's been a news anchor person, a meteorologist for the networks, CNN, the Weather Channel. She's worked in multiple television markets in various capacities. I almost hired her during my days in Detroit in 1978. What were you, about 13 years old, Cheryl, as a weathercaster there in Kansas City?
I was only 3, George. Get your math right.
Well, you knew how to do weather, that's for sure.
I did. It was really an interesting time, and I was the first woman to do weather in the Kansas City area, and that came with its own set of really interesting situations, and it was quite an experience, quite successful, and that's where a lot of things started. Here we are now today.
By the way, the guy who did not hire you after I recommended you got fired, just so you know. How about that? So anyways, tell us about this forensic scientist.
Oh my goodness, George, it's rare to meet someone who spent his entire life learning, investigating, and studying human nature just in order to solve injustices against other human beings, especially in Art Bohannon's case, children. Tonight, we meet this person, Art Bohannon, a forensic scientist, inventor, veteran military police officer, and senior forensic examiner with the Knoxville, Tennessee Police Department for 26 years. He's an author as well. His books include Prince of a Man. It's actually a biographical diary of a forensic detective and the daily notes with some major cases, along with an ongoing historical novel series, and I believe he's on about number 12 by now.
Wow.
His passion for forensics spans decades, though, and his expertise began at the very young age of 14. He had a calling. He was determined to follow it. Law enforcement agencies around the country and world have called upon Bohannon to help solve mysteries, thousands of them, that in many cases, without his assistance and expertise in forensic science using his unique, innovative techniques, those cases would remain unsolved. Unsolved murders, serial killing sprees, jumbo jet crashes, and 9/11. Art was one of the first people called into action to identify human remains at Ground Zero on 9/11, all preceded by a scary premonition. Let's start there with forensics expert Art Bohannon.
Art, you've had such a wide-ranging career in forensic science. Tell me how it began and a little bit about your work through the years.
Well, it began when I read a book about fingerprinting by the local author, John Whitehead. He wrote the FBI story when I was 14 years old, and I said, wow, I want to do that someday. We lived out in the country, we didn't have electricity, didn't have phones at the time. You know, we finally got phones a year or so later, but there was no technology out there. I mean, there's nothing. Very few books written, and nothing on criminology, not on forensic sciences. And after reading numerous True Detective magazines, I bought it at a local drugstore. I wanted to do it, and I seen an ad for this Institute of Applied Science to do a home study course, and I just had to have that because I had to learn how to do that, and basically taught myself with a mail order course on how to take fingerprints and pictures and record and document crime scenes. And my junior year in high school, the local sheriff found out how I could actually read fingerprints and compare fingerprints, and he brought me into work with scenes, and I had my first case actually at 18 I testified in court on.
Did you know then that you were going to stay on the pathway of forensic science for the rest of your career?
Oh, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. Yes, I guess I did.
Tell me about your involvement and your work with 9/11. What happened? How did you get involved? And what did you see when you got there?
Well, my 9/11 actually started on 9/9. My wife and I were in Bar Harbor, Maine on a working vacation on a Sunday morning, 4 o'clock. I woke terrified, absolutely chilled to the bone, something horrible was happening. So we got out around about 4:30, started driving south, called the family, called the neighbors, nothing going on. I said, yes, there is too. So September 11th, we were in Winchester, Virginia at the Cracker Barrel. We just finished and came out. My brother called me on the cell phone and said the plane just hit the World Trade Center. I said, yeah, probably one of those little tour planes. I've been up there before, and they fly all over New York City. Just finished the second call, and then the third call was the commander for DMORT, which is Disaster Mortuary Operation Response Team, which is a reserve unit under the Public Health Service at the time to respond to disasters. And he said, we're going to New York and come on home. So during the time, he called the 6 responders from Tennessee, including myself, and we met on the 12th about 6 or 6:30 behind Bury Funeral Home in Knoxville, and we loaded up and started driving north. So we got there about 10 o'clock at night, and all the responders east of the Mississippi, that was a rendezvous point for all of us. So by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there was 800 of us in a hangar on cots trying to sleep. They finally got lodging in New York City, and we went on down. You know, the closer we got, the worse the odors got. We could see the smoke. We drove right through it. So I was the first to have a whole team going to ground zero. Here I get out in the dark with my little flashlight, start walking toward the light. And 2 or 3 blocks up, I seen them walk on the left. I went from there up to the ground zero. And there's debris everywhere, because I walked in the dust and all that stuff. And I stopped right at the edge of the rubble. A big crane had a man in a basket and a red dog was slowly going over the rubble trying to find someone living. And beside it was a man on his side watching as it was digging, and all at once somebody said, stop, stop, stop. And they went scrambling up on a heap, and they saw something. I mean, the light was really bright, and they had flashlights. And they saluted something in the rubble, and they got down on hands and knees and finally got out part of the human body, still in turnout gear. And they called for a basket, and the body basket was sent up. And I don't know where a police line was formed, they started passing it back down. And at the bottom, they had a 4-wheel gator-type vehicle. And laid the basket on top of that, somebody over the tension, and they raised the flag over it. And I noticed the big, strong men and women, I guess, covered with soot and dust, they're crying, screams coming down their face. And I slowly walked behind them back to the temporary morgue where we transferred the remains to a waiting ambulance, and they left wide open the siren and everything going to the medical center's office. At that point in time, my face was wet. That was a brother, sister, in uniform. I'd never met that gave their life to somebody else. So that was the beginning of it.
You've put in endless hours up there. How long, Art, did you end up working at Ground Zero?
Well, I actually worked those 10 days at Ground Zero, and I got really bad sick and came home and got better. I worked 7 at night to 7 in the morning. But when I went back, they wanted me to work in a medical examiner's office on the DNA recovery team. And that was 7 in the morning to 7 at night, or when we got completed. If they had members of service coming in, later, we stayed sometime till midnight. So we worked 12 to 18-hour days, 7 days a week. When a member of service was found, that was really an amazing event because that person gave his life to try to help somebody else, to save somebody else.
What was your most moving moment there at 9/11? I know you had so many. Is there one that stands out?
Yeah, there was really one. When I went back to work at the medical center's office in the DNA recovery, we kept looking for any tattoos or anything on the bodies to help narrow the identification down. And they brought part of the body in with the left arm, and they had a tattoo on it. And we were looking for tattoos. We notified the fire department, and they made a call someone, and they said, cover it up except for the arm. And this firefighter, the son of this man, came in and laid his arm down beside his father's arm, and we photographed it. That was his dad.
What physical and emotional effects have you had to deal with as a result of all of that time spent at Ground Zero?
My lung function's low. I was misdiagnosed in 2011 with COPD, I have the reverse of that. I can get air in, but I can't get it back out. So I have sealed LD. Low lump function, vertical dirt, acid reflux, and just some days that my oxygen level gets low, I just have to chill out and drink cold water until it gets better. There's nothing I can do about it. Hardly been done, there's no way to cure it, so I just have to learn to live with it.
What kind of toxins were you exposed to there?
Dioxin, benzene, aluminum, pulverized aluminum. Most buildings had about 100,000 mercury vapor lights, and then when a mercury vapor light burns or blows, you're supposed to get out. We're breathing all that. Pulverized cement, asbestos, everything nasty you can imagine we were breathing.
What about first responders? Did you have any interaction with first responders that sticks in your mind forever?
Well, the anthropologist we worked with in the medical examiner's office, she looked at all the incoming human remains as anthropologist and identified what part of the body was. And when the first tire one came down, she went down and she had a near-death experience. She almost got killed on the second one until she was that close to it. And she got bruised all over, she broken ribs, and she couldn't breathe, and both her eyes were black, and just beat her up bad. But she survived and came back to work in the medical examiner's office doing what she's supposed to do, so the rest of us did.
Every year you have a 9/11. It has to be an emotional event every year, but obviously with time everything changes. How do you spend your 9/11 every year, and I guess more importantly, how did you spend it this year?
This year was different. It's the 20th anniversary. For some reason it was surreal. And I taught classes, did presentation at high school to about 300 students. And I've done a total of 7 presentations to groups. And my journey up there and what we did, and it gets very emotional because, when I look back and think about, those 2 guys digging down that road won't bring a part of a first responder out, put him in a basket, take him off. That's when my brothers and sisters had died, giving their life to somebody else.
In looking back at that experience, Art, would you say, even though you had so many decades of experience in the forensics, were you at all prepared for that emotionally?
Not that massive undertaking, absolutely not. And I've been involved in a total of 8 plane crashes, which included the 2 there, the Discovery spaceship when it came over Texas. I was there, and 3 commercial airlines to recover human remains for identification.
What about Hurricane Katrina? You worked on that in forensics, and you were called into action to identify victims of that natural disaster. How do you compare the experiences you have in different disasters, like, for instance, compare what you had to do with Hurricane Katrina to what you had to do with 9/11?
Well, it was completely different. In Katrina, we worked 3 weeks, and, a few hundred bodies actually drowned. A few hundred people actually drowned, brought us in. So some of those had identification on them. They were fresh bodies. We opened 1,200 caskets that had floated death to identify the long dead. And we identified over 90% of the 1,200, and the other was because family didn't come forward to give us information.
You also have had a lot of experience working with the body farm in Knoxville, Tennessee, at the University of Tennessee.
Yes.
For our listeners who don't know anything about the body farms, explain to us where the bodies come from that are used there for research, and how are they displayed throughout the farm?
That's a place of honor. It started in 1976. I met Dr. Bass in 1976. We worked lots and lots of cases together, and I actually did 3 different researches at the body farm. And it's just a place of honor. It's about a 3-acre complex behind University of Tennessee Hospital on the University of Tennessee campus. It's fenced in with 2 fences, and people who are dying or think they're going to die soon, then they donate their body for research. And right now there's a long waiting list. I mean, the overflow of the bodies, and they're sending some on to the forensic center in Oak Ridge. And it's just amazing to see the number of people that want their body used to help someone else.
How many bodies are down there at any given time?
I wouldn't have the idea now. I mean, back when I retired 20 years ago, there was always 40 or 50 in there. Some buried, some in water, some in tanks, some in buildings. I mean, every scenario you think of, because when law enforcement will have a case, they would go back to the body farm and try to recreate that scenario using a real body and see what happened. Now, it's been there so long now, the students they're looking at different things. I mean, rated K and all that's been well documented. What they're looking at now is arthritis in the bone, breaks, something unusual about the skeletal remains. And it's a place of honor. It really is a place of honor to learn.
Strange profession, huh, Cheryl?
Very strange. It takes a very unusual, dedicated, and passionate person about forensics to do everything that he has done. And that's just a sliver of it. It goes much further than what we've had time to discuss.
How did he get involved in all this?
Well, he said it just was always an intriguing area. No one else around was doing that. He was fascinated by mysteries, the murder mysteries and unsolved crimes. And as he mentioned, he started at a very young age of 14, and in his teens became so good at working with fingerprints that he was called upon by the local sheriff to help them with some cases.
He kind of reminds me of Cyril Weck, the pathologist, who does a lot of this. Of course, this is a forensic scientist. There's a difference. He's not a doctor. But they love doing what they're doing.
He's fascinated by it, and when he'll talk more about it in our next segment, but he was involved with some local crimes involving children and young girls, and that really, really touched his heart. He couldn't get over what he was seeing and the frustration involved in really, really finding the fingerprints before they evaporated. That's a whole interesting story about how he managed and how he worked to accomplish what he did in terms of a very unusual device, very innovative, very successful and patented device that's used worldwide today in solving these crimes.
Does he go worldwide, or is he restricted to a certain area?
But now, because of health and because of retirement and age and the difficulties in traveling, he limits his work now within 100 miles. I just spoke with him earlier today, and we were talking about the current case with Gabby and the
Landry.
Yeah.
Laundry, I guess.
And the search for her ex-fiance, and it's just, he said that's too far away to go, and, obviously after a body has decomposed to a certain extent, there's no fingerprints or anything of that nature, but his fingerprint investigation is phenomenal with identifying and being able to work with latent fingerprints, and that is when the fingerprint of someone else is found on the victim's body.
Has technology made his job easier?
Yes, it has over the years. He mentioned his extensive work with the body farm, and that, of course, has changed over the years. When they first started, there was so many bodies, as he said, and I asked him also, are they still doing that many bodies? And he mentioned that they're doing work with arthritis and health conditions and all of this. There's so many different aspects of the body farm, which is known worldwide. And he said after a while, with so many bodies, the ground is contaminated. It's already identified with the bodies that are planted. So they've run out of ground, so to speak, to really continue the work as it has been going on for all these years, or decades, under the founder, Dr. Bill Bass. And it's phenomenal. Other places are starting to pick up where the body farm has transitioned due to all of that and due to the space already having been taken up.
We're coming back with part 2 with Cheryl Jones in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.
celebrations, and the Super Bowl lineup at SoFi. I'm Johnny D'Agostini from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The ongoing drought in the western United States isn't going away anytime soon. That's according to a new nationwide drought outlook released by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It says the dry spell is expected to last beyond 2022. NOAA's research points at greenhouse gas emissions as a contributing factor to the Southwest's lowest rainfall totals since the 1800s. The 18-year-old woman shot by a school safety officer in Long Beach is brain dead and not expected to survive. Her boyfriend, who was driving the car the officer shot at, spoke at a news conference this week.
It wasn't the right pitch on my tires. But why straight through the window to someone's head, you know?
On Monday, the officer opened fire on the moving car after the woman allegedly assaulted a 15-year-old girl in the street near Milligan High School. The woman's family says the officer never issued a warning before firing 2 shots, one of which struck her in the back of the head. The school safety officer is on paid administrative leave during investigations. There are reports that tens of thousands of Haitian migrants are making their way through Mexico toward the U.S. border with a plan to take asylum. Victor Escalon with the Texas Department of Safety says they're keeping an eye on the caravans.
I've heard Texas, I've heard Arizona, I've heard California. So we're mindful and we'll move quickly to send that way.
Escalon says cases of illegal immigration involving Haitians are not new, but the numbers they're seeing this year have been historic. A star-studded lineup is taking the field for this year's Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show in Inglewood. The NFL announced it'll feature Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar. Super Bowl 56 takes place on February 13th, 2022 at SoFi Stadium. Southland weather from KFI, sunny and warm today. High 70s and 80s at the beaches, low 90s in Metro LA, high 90s in the Valley, and mid 90s in the Inland Empire. It's 67 degrees in Anaheim, 73 in Palm Springs, 63 degrees in Simi Valley. We did local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Johnny D'Agostini.
In Torrance, this is on the 405 southbound before Normandy. Earlier crash at Pleasant Lane has been cleared, but unfortunately the damage is done. Your drive is stacked from well before Crenshaw. And in Baldwin Park, we have a work zone. It's on the 10 eastbound from the 605 to Francis Speedo. These 2 right lanes are going to be coned off until 6. Watch for some flowing from Garvey. Ontario, this is on the 60 east or westbound at Euclid. Little fender bender on the shoulder there. Watch for delays. KFI and the Sky Hope to get you there faster. O'Brien Band. Well, fall's officially here, which means stormy weather and cold temps for everyone not living in SoCal. And now, the top 5 reasons to visit Morongo. Number 5.
Into the Woods giveaway. You get a sweet hydration backpack when you earn 500 points on your rewards card before your 6th.
Number 4.
Get splashed with cash in the poker room. Every time a football team scores, we'll toss up to $100 cash in your table pot.
3.
It's National Taco Day at Fiesta Taco. Tacos are $3 or less on the 4th.
And the number 2.
Monster Mash. Just earn 500 points on your rewards card, and you're guaranteed to win up to $100 in cash or free swap play.
And the number 1 reason.
Football, baseball, basketball. Have a ball watching all the ball games on big screens everywhere you eat, play, and sing.
Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Morongo. Good times.
We've all heard that you've got the right to remain silent, but have you ever really thought about what that means? It's the police literally telling you to shut up. I'm attorney Darren Cavanoki from 1-800-NO-CUFFS. If you're in custody and everything you say can and definitely will be used against you, remain silent and just shut up. Just make your one phone call to 1-800-NO-CUFFS, the leader in criminal defense. 1-800-NO-CUFFS, because no one looks good in handcuffs unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUFFS.
Contractor license 1023790.
Kenny, I heard Gettle Air Conditioning has an irresistible offer for everyone out in Radio Land.
We do, Zach. We do.
Well, tell me about it.
Rejuvenation.
But the summer's about over.
I know. That's why the time is now.
You're going to have to explain that.
If you have electric heat, your heater is just your air conditioner running backwards all winter.
You're saying it needs some refreshment?
Yes, and if you have gas heat, now is the time to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape and restored to factory specs so that you can turn it on with confidence when the desert heat returns in a couple of months.
Rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation.
How much?
Just $129.
That's a great deal.
Great deals are what I'm known for, Zach.
Really? I thought you was mostly known for having a dog man safe.
Well, that too.
Gettle. G-O-E-T-T-L.
Sadie said to say hello, by the way. I
Air wants to give you the cleanest air possible, and the affordable Autumn series does just that.
The Autumn Desk is a revolutionary air purifier that transforms your workspace into personal clean air zones.
Unlike other air filtration systems that may take hours to purify the air, the Autumn Desk begins working immediately.
Put it right next to you while you work and create your own personal bubble of ultra-pure air.
This game-changing technology has been proven to remove 99% of all airborne pollutants.
Visit iqair.com/US to learn more. Give them a call, 800-500-4AIR, 800-500-4247. The Delta variant is making COVID-19 spread faster and more easily. Variants can be more contagious, aggressive, and deadly. But we know vaccines work. Vaccinated Californians have greater protection against serious illness, hospitalization, and death. We can help stop the spread and end this pandemic. Get vaccinated and wear a mask when it can protect you and others. Find a vaccine near you at myterm.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
KFI AM 640.
That's not your cup of tea? You sure?
Very. Good luck with that.
I can't meet anyone when I'm out, and I really can't find a website for my unique interest. What does one to do?
Have you thought about paranormaldate.com?
What? Who are you?
I'm a paranormal matchmaker, and it's paranormaldate.com. It's a website for people looking for people like them. Stuff you like, remember?
Interesting. I'll give it a try.
Well, let's try this again.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Hey, I'm Deb. Your profile on paranormaldate.com looks very interesting. So you really saw a UFO?
Well, yeah. It was so intense, but not as intense as meeting you.
You're an alien chasing flirt, but I kind of like it.
Wow, this paranormaldate.com thing really works.
Maybe paranormaldate.com is for you. People with an interest in things they hear on George's show find their match daily. So if you're looking for that special someone with an interest in UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot, conspiracy theories, and of course the paranormal, come to the dating site inspired by George Norrie. It's always free to search, and if you decide to upgrade to our amazing new features, use promo code GEORGE for a great discount. Paranormaldate.com. You are not alone.
You see it at the pump, the grocery store, and construction costs. Another month of the highest inflation since 2008. Another month where that paper money you're carrying around is worth less. So what's your plan to protect your savings? You have homeowner's insurance in case of a fire. What insurance do you have in place if inflation sets in further and pushes prices even higher? Consider owning physical silver or gold from Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold will ship silver straight to your door so you can store it in your safe for a time of need, and it's easy. To learn how to get started, text COAST to 989898 to get a free info kit. Text today, and on qualified purchases, Birch Gold will even send you a safe to store your silver or gold in. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Thousands of happy customers. Birch Gold can help you safeguard your savings by holding silver rounds or bars on hand. Text COAST to 989898 again. Text COAST to 989898 to protect your savings today.
Real people, real stories.
I have bruising that's all over my arms. 3 weeks after I was on the carnivore, I noticed, I'm looking at my arms, and I said, gee, I don't have any bruises on my arms, and I'm always full of bruises. I can't put my finger on it, but I know something's happening. I have to tell you, that has to be the carnivore.
I've got a Labrador. She can hardly lift herself up off the floor. I won't tell you what the veterinarian said, but the treatment was chemotherapy. And I said, no way. That's when I said, you know what, this could be the ticket. So I started administering her, and she took to it right away. In 3 weeks, you could tell she was very alert. 6 weeks into the protocol, she seemed like she was 100%. She was going on 5-mile walks. I'm like, my goodness, she is just like prime again.
Call 866-836-8735. That's 866-836-8735. Or visit carnivore.com. That's carnivora.com.
And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, along with our investigative reporter Cheryl Jones. Next hour, we'll open up the phone lines, open lines with Cheryl, and I'll jump in once in a while as well. Cheryl, let's pick up part 2 of this interview with a very fascinating Arthur Bohannon.
It is fascinating, George. In my upcoming interview here, the second part, we'll find out how Art Bohannon's unconventional discoveries in forensic science using super glue led to solving a serial killing spree that unnerved his home state. He's had decades of learning and investigating, a lot of trial and error, and so much research. His ingenious technique today provides law enforcement around the world with tools they need to solve crimes and identify bodies, determine whether they're adults or children, and the gender as well. So it's been significant in leading to a federal law to protect children today and used across the country. He's also invented the means to solve a mystery of who might be buried in a grave, some of them centuries old. His premonition of 9/11 came true. He followed that call and became one of the first forensic team responders on the scene at ground 11. And our listeners, George, will find out that 9/11 isn't the only premonition he experienced. Other premonitions have come true as well. One foreshadowed the untimely death of someone very close to him, his son. And he feels very blessed to be in communication and to live the life he's lived. And what could the communication from the spiritual realm be? Well, a ghostly image appears unexpectedly in a photo Art taken clean following the crash of jumbo jet after 9/11. Let's listen in.
I'd like you to detail a little bit more about that premonition that you had before 9/11. You told me that you were on vacation a couple of days before 9/11.
Yes.
So explain that again to me in a little more detail.
Well, it was the night of September on a Sunday morning. We were in Bar Harbor, Maine, and I woke up really terrified, chilled to the bone. And we got up and packed real quick and started running. So I knew something had to happen or getting rid of them, but I didn't know how they were there. And we took the further south I got close to home, the more I knew that my premonition was accurate. You know, I thought it was somebody in the family got hurt or a neighbor, and nope, they're all okay. So I knew there would be something, and it was like if something would change our world forever.
How would you analyze, in looking back at the times that you've had premonitions, do they help you prepare, or maybe has there ever been a situation where you felt that they helped you prevent something?
And I feel the work maybe not prevent, but to do a better job after training. And not coming in still my determination that I'll be working on numbers, huge team. And it's like, I'm not going to eat it. And boy, within 90 days, I was